In 1913, the Rockefeller family discovered something about where to keep the money that most people, over 100 years later, still have not been told. It's not a secret investment, it's not a market move, it's not a strategy reserved for billionaires. It was a vehicle, a specific type of financial vehicle. And the family that has been using it and teaching it to every generation since, because of one thing it does that no savings account, no stock portfolio, and no retirement account can replicate it. What made it powerful was not the return. The private owners I sat across from in those rooms did not keep their money where everyone else kept their money. They did not have dramatically more savings in their accounts. Their visible liquid assets were not unusually high, but they moved faster. They said yes when executives said, let me think about it. They were available when opportunities arrived because their capital was available, not because they had more, because of where they kept it and how it worked while it sat there. I initially assumed this was a higher savings discipline or better investment returns or simply family wealth providing a safety net. It was none of those things. It was a vehicle, a specific type of financial vehicle that the people of this community were never shown the door to. The Rockefeller family did not keep it a secret, they just did not advertise it. Because the people selling the advertised products made more money when you bought those instead. Stage 3 of SOWPOW is where this vehicle lives. And today, in the finale of the blueprint, I am naming it. Your savings account is not protecting you. I know this sounds wrong. I know it feels counterintuitive. The savings account is what everyone tells you to build, and stage 1 of the SOWPOW agrees for the emergency fund. A liquid savings account is exactly right. But here is the problem. The savings account stops working strategically the moment stage 1 is complete. Because stage 2 and stage 3 require capital that moves, capital that is accessible without penalty, capital that continues to grow while it waits for the right moment. A standard savings account yields a rate tied to the Federal Reserve decision making cycle. That rate is not in your control, it changes. It has always changed. The vehicle stage 3 is built around something different. It grows at a rate linked to a market index. It does not lose when the index drops. And the cash remains accessible without triggering a tax event or dismantling the growth. That combination, the Rockefeller family understood in 1913. Most people still have not been shown it. That is stage 3. Nelson Nash, in Becoming Your Own Banker, documents what he calls the infinite banking concept. The idea that a specific type of life insurance policy can function as a personal family bank rather than simply as a death benefit. The vehicle builds cash value over time. The cash value is accessible without triggering a taxable event, without selling a long term asset, without dismantling the growth that is still compounding underneath. You borrow against the value rather than withdrawing from it. You repay yourself rather than a bank. The death benefits protects whoever comes after you, and that is not a new idea. The Rockefeller family was using this approach starting in 1930. Walt Disney used a version of it to fund the construction of Disneyland when traditional lenders would not. Multiple multi generational wealth building families across industries and decades have returned to the same fundamental vehicle for the same reason. It does three things simultaneously that no standard savings account, no stock portfolio, no retirement account can replace on its own. It grows, it is accessible, and it is tax advantaged. That is stage 3. That is why the private owners moved when executives said, we are still waiting. Stage 3 of SOWPOW applies when you are building from $50,000 to $250,000. Three components in sequence. Component 1, liquidity architecture. Before you invest more, before you add to through the retirement accounts before you pursue advanced strategies. Build a structure of accessible capital. Know your HELOC eligibility if you own property. Understand what vehicle allows you to access capital without triggering penalties or tax events. This is not about having more money. It is about having money that moves when you need it to. Component 2, HELOC exploration. A home equity line of credit, if you own a property, is a line of credit secured against equity in your home. When used strategically and not for consumption, it provides accessible capital at lower interest rate than most alternatives. It is not a debt used carelessly. It is liquidity used intentionally. Your CPA is the right conversation partner for this. Component 3, cash value life insurance as a family bank. This is the Rockefeller vehicle, not term life, which is built around death benefit and expires at the end of its term. That has different benefits. A different category of policy, one where cash value that builds over a time is the point, not the death benefit. That way, it works conceptually. As premiums are paid, cash values accumulate inside the policy. That cash value can be accessed, borrowed against, without triggering a tax event and without stopping the growth underneath. The family continues to grow the wealth inside the vehicle. At the same time, they're using the capital outside it. That is the mechanism the Rockefeller family understood. And that is why it has been used across generations. The death benefit is there, but it is not why stage 3 families use this vehicle. They use it because of what it does, while everyone is alive. Stage 3 is the stage that separates people who have money from people who have money that works. The executives had savings accounts. The private owner understood a different category of vehicle entirely. That understanding is stage 3. I want to be very specific about something before we close this series. Stage 3 involves a specific financial vehicle, a specific type of life insurance policy, and I'm going to be direct. The specific design of the vehicle for your income, your stage, your goals, your family situation. That is a professional conversation. What I have shared in this episode is the concept, the principle, the framework, the reason it exists, and why the wealthiest families have used it for over 100 years. That is education. That is what this channel is for. This series was never designed to replace a professional conversation. It was designed to prepare you for it, so when you walk into that room, you know why you're there, what you're looking for, and what questions to ask. That is the seed. Understanding first, decision second. Take the stage finder quiz. If stage 3 is your stage, it will confirm that and tell your specific next focus. Here is your one small seed to close it. This week, research the concept of cash value life insurance as a financial tool, not as a death benefit, as a living benefit. Search Rockefeller banking strategy. Read Nelson Nash. Let the idea land before you have a professional conversation. That is the seed. Understanding before action, always. Now, a moment to say something directly. You just completed the blueprint, 6 episodes, 3 SOW stages, the sequence that builds the farm. If you have watched all 6, you now hold the operating manual that wealthy families pass down privately. You have the framework, you have the order, you have the ground beneath the ground. What comes next is the POW phase, stage 4 to stage 6. The 9 system series where you make everything you build in SOW unbreakable, tax-free, generational. Series 2 is coming. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And share this series with one person who needs the map. Because the most expensive thing most people were ever taught was that this framework was not for them. It is. It always was. Plant the seed today that shades you or someone you love tomorrow. This has been the blueprint. This is one small seed, and I will see you in series 2.